fire fairly lit the room in a fluorescent glow, giving it a homely feeling. The warmth spread to every corner of the house, and the edge of the room to the right stood the Christmas tree. Its dazzling beauty brought awe to the man who stood in the corner of the living room, who had recently come down the chimney. He was a tall man, and fat at that. He was dressed in a heavy red jacket lined with white fur. His eyes sparkled as he witnessed the lights wrapped around the tree, reflecting off the ornaments hanging on its green branches. The large man sniffed the air from the surrounding room. The smell of pine entered his nose, causing his lips to curve into a smile. He slowly stepped over the fireplace. The fire was burning bright as ever. Above it hung velvet stockings with silver lining laced into the fabric to spell the words Dad and Sarah. The man reached into his pocket and pulled out a brown bag in a swift motion. He pulled a single candy cane out of the bag and gently placed them into the stocking named Sarah with care. He glared at the stocking named Dad for a second before breaking his ice-cold stare away. With this, he moved into the kitchen. He entered the kitchen and trudged to the counter, where a strange odor immediately struck the large man in the nose. The smell of hard liquor was accompanied by a porcelain plate spread upon the table in the center of the room. There sat a glass of milk beside the freshly baked chocolate cookies stacked on top of each other. Pleased, the man reached for the glass and gulped the milk down. He rubbed his mustache, the mustache that had recently been acquired, off his face with his arm, and allowed his gaze to return to the cookies. He ogled them for a few seconds, hunger in his eyes. Soon after, he grabbed one and placed it in his mouth, munching the small chunks between his teeth, which were white as snow. The crumbs fell from his mouth into his scraggly beard as the jolly fellow continued on to the base of the stairwell. He reached his hands out to guide himself upwards until he stumbled upon the second floor of the house. Paper cutouts of snowflakes hung in the large corridor. Moonlight seeped in through the windows of the small hall, which gave an eerie glow. The man took a step forward, which caused the wooden floor to gently creak. Halting his advance, his eyes darted around the house, not daring to move a muscle. Dust bunnies floated through the air, and silence became ever-present to the point where one could hear a single pin drop. The man held his breath and gently released it, carefully taking another step forward. With each creak, he stopped in fear of exposure. However, no one seemed to hear the unannounced visitor. Before long, the man arrived at a wooden door near the end of the hall. He saw the door at the end of the room as well. It was where the child slept, but not soundly. The large man knew of her bruises and pain at the hands of the one she should have trusted the most. Santa knew all of the children after all. Turning his attention back to the door in front of him, he gripped the brass handle, its surface frozen. He twisted the knob and opened the door, leaving it ajar. A single figure was laying down on the bed, their specific details concealed by the shadows of the room. The man walked to the side of the bed and lifted a picture and sat on the dresser. The photo contained a family, a man, a woman, and a small girl. The man smiled for a second before setting the frame down. Next to the photo, where the originally positioned, sat more bottles of liquor. Several bottles sat empty, and several more filled to the brim. And on the floor beside the bed was a long leather belt, bloodied in the metal area. Judging by the large frame of a figure under the cover, the man presumed they were the parents in the photograph, or at least one of them. The frown crawled onto the man's face as he uncovered the sheet to reveal the father from the photograph. Enraged, the man grabbed the pillow on the other side of the bed and brought it down on the father's face. The father's body immediately began to tremble as he clawed at the large man, desperately trying to remove the pillow. It was a fruitless effort. the pillow and the might of the man proving too powerful. The inhuman strength he possessed outmatched the father's strength tenfold. The father's arms dropped down to the side of the bed as his body went limp. He wouldn't hurt her again. The jolly fellow made sure of that. Once the deed was done, the man pulled the covers over the corpse and retreated to the window at the back of the room. The silky white snow gently fell to the ground in a peaceful manner. The night sky sparkled with the twinkling stars, and the man's eyes twinkled as well. He exited the room and took a deep sigh. Unhappy he had to do such things. It was when he was about to turn around and leave, however, that he remembered the door at the very end of the hall, the girl's room. The man crept forth with silent footsteps, careful not to stir the girl from her slumber. Opening the door, he found himself a slightly lit room, thanks to a small nightlight plugged into the wall. Pink snowflakes emitted from the light danced on the blue ceiling in a soothing pattern. In the very corner of the room was a small bed in the shape of a car. The man approached it. He gently lifted the covers to reveal the body underneath them. There, comfortably resting in bed, was the girl from picture 3. He stooped down to the girl's level and watched her sleep. His teeth practically touched his ears as he leaned over her and sniffed her delicate blonde hair. The girl grunted in her sleep, not seeming to notice the presence in her room. Scars and bruises covered her back and shoulders. Patches of skin were scarred. The man licked his thumb, covering most of it in saliva. He gently cooed as he rubbed the girl's cheek ever so slightly, not to wake her. For several minutes, the man couldn't help but watch her until he eventually pressed his soft, moist lips against his forehead for a few seconds. He then spoke ever so gently into her ear, his voice raspy and queer. "Have a Merry Christmas, little girl. May all your wishes come true." With that, the jolly fat man exited the room and snuck back into the living room, where the tree still stood in all its glimmering glory. He had left a large red sack on the couch earlier, and he went to retrieve it. He brought the bag to the tree and opened the sack, withdrawing the presents, toys, and all sorts of candies. After proceeding to set several presents under the tree, the man exited the cozy home. Now in the crisp winter air, he looked back upon the house. He smirked slightly, relishing the night. He had delivered a joy of Christmas to the little girl who needed it. And for that he was proud. He walked away, his large footprints covered this soon after by the fresh snowflakes which gently fell to the ground. The sun rose over the horizon, its bright orange glow cleansing the land of the darkness and revealing the shimmering snow spread across the plains. A little girl woke from her slumber and hopped out of bed. She let out a quick yawn before hustling to her parents' room. Her face was dull and energy lackluster as she reluctantly headed for the father's room and by his bed. She hesitantly poked at his body, her face a blank canvas. He didn't wake up. He hardly showed any signs of motion at all. Again, she tried to wake him up, but to no avail. She frowned a bit at this, but not for long. She wanted to go open what present she got from Santa. She knew that he wouldn't want her to open presents without him there to see her. But she also didn't feel like waiting for him to get up and drag himself to the tree either. Hanging her head low, she knew what choice she had to make, lest she was punished. She dragged herself away from the room, completely overcome with boredom. Wandering back to her room, she sat down at the edge of her bed. Her eyes wandered to the floor of the room, where the smooth beige carpet had an imprint of a foot, and a large one. To the North Pole. Dear Santa, I hope you and the reindeer are doing okay. I know that you're busy with the other kids, so I won't ask for a lot. All I really want for Christmas is my dad to be okay. It's been a while since Mommy left and Daddy has not been the same. He yells a lot more now and hurts me. I don't know why, but I just want it to stop. Please help my daddy, Santa. It's all I want. Love.